What's going on, Chief Architect folks? I'm back with that favorite segment, me answering the general Q&A forums, the first page of general Q&A on Chief Talk. And as before, I don't look at these ahead of time. You're really just gonna catch me doing stuff live, and I don't edit this video, so that means I might really screw up right in the middle of it. So far, I haven't. If I seem to get hung up on something, I try to just move through it and keep this format the same way that it's been in the past. So let's jump into it. I do see that I've looked at a couple of these, but it's only a few of these, and maybe we could actually get back past the first page in an hour. This usually takes an hour just for one page. So let's start with this first one. How do 2D symbols bind to fixtures? How do they bind to fixtures? And they're saying, I'm trying to understand how a 2D symbol, CAD blocks, are assigned to their fixtures. Specifically, how is the orientation paired, and is there an insertion point that connects them? Trying to understand their connection better, so any insights are greatly appreciated. Okay, that's an interesting one. And where we're in X17 now, I don't think I've done this segment since we've been in X17. So it's a little bit different for me to set up like um, a temp thing. So I'm just going to make a copy of a plan that's inside of what I use for a template. And let's open this up and let's just talk about 2D symbol. I'm going to just draw in a dishwasher here. And so a couple of things to note. When we open this up and we see the fixture specifications here and the 2D symbol panel, this shows up, ask as needed. Do we want to auto-generate this block? Ask as needed. Because what happens when we go to the 3D panel and we rotate this 90 degrees? And then, guess what? The bounding box just changed. I don't know if you can see this, but the bounding box now represents the fact that I just rotated the geometry of this symbol. But the two-dimensional CAD did not change with it. Why is that? Because it was set to 2D symbol ask as needed. Now, if you've dismissed the dialog box that asks you this, I don't think that it asks you this again. I might be incorrect about that. You can always click generate block again. And so what would happen is it would regenerate. I'm not going to hit that yet. And then what if I set to always auto generate the block? Well, notice that it didn't change anything. This doesn't retroactively change anything. This would just change if we were to go rotate this again. So if I hit generate block, it's going to regenerate this. And you'll notice that something jumped here in these 2D symbol CAD blocks. And what you're going to see is there's now a new entry in here for a new CAD block. Now, this is something important to note. You can always go generate a new CAD block on your own. Let me just press OK real quick. And now we see that this is updated. And let me just draw in some lines, and I'm going to shift select these lines. I'm going to make this a CAD block. Let's open this up, and I'm going to just call this example. Okay. And in fact, I'll just put a space in front of this so that when I get back into this dishwasher, we're going to see at the very top here, there is my block. It's inside of the plan now. I can't go and find something from the library, but if I've got a block inside of the plan, that is now accessible and I could assign it to this dishwasher. All right. So let me just show you that real quick. Bam. I assign that. And should it have updated? No, why not? Well, it might be that you have to hit this select CAD block. There we go. Now it's giving me the ability to assign that. Let me press OK. Why is this not changing? It should change. It's because we set this to always, right? We set this to always. So ask as needed. Let me set this to example, and there you go. Now it's updated. So hopefully that gives you some ideas about how this is all working. In terms of the insertion point, you can always change the insertion point right here, right? I've got this CAD block here. I can change that insertion point. What's another thing that I could do? I could come in here to dishwasher. Let's see, select CAD block. Does this give me the ability? I have the ability to add it to the library. Let's see what happens with that, right? So now that's in my library. Do I get to then edit this CAD block? Yes. And then when I get to select this, do I get a select insertion point for this? It does not seem that I do. And then there's an edit the active view just to see what happens here. And so it doesn't seem that I get to be able to set this insertion point here either. But I could make this a CAD block. Let's close this down. I don't need to save it. I could just paste it now, and then I could change the insertion point. And so I can make that the insertion point. Not sure that the insertion point really matters here, other than that you probably want this centered on the symbol. There's some other tricks here too. If we want custom text and we want that text outside of the CAD block itself, let me go edit this CAD block again. And notice that we've got that insertion point that I placed earlier. Is if I want some text to show up down here, it might be that I need to copy paste, reflect about the center of this symbol if I can, and just set this to a bunch of character spaces so that it looks blank. And then this will give me, you know, it will still center up this symbol. All right. Now, if I didn't do this and I save the block and I close this down, and I'm going to, replace all instances. Now look at this, right? That CAD block is still roughly where I want it to be, but notice that the insertion points and everything aren't quite correct, okay? So what if I select that insertion point again and put it back here, and I want to change, I want to change the name of this CAD block just so we have it. So let's just do test, and then come into this, choose test, right? Choose tests. Yep, press OK. Does that change how it locates? It doesn't seem to be affecting that insertion point. So really what you need to do, edit that CAD block again, and notice that I need basically a CAD line from the furthest most face here to be able to understand where the center is, so that I can copy paste, reflect about that center, copy paste, reflect about this center, and now select these two guys, set them to just blank character spaces, and now I've effectively put everything back to center so that hopefully this dishwasher's aligned and that text still remains. So if I select the object now, where is it? Oh, see? Yeah, so this is difficult to understand. And I'd have to play around with this again to understand why my offsets are wrong here. Because we can obviously see, and it might have to do with that insertion point. Let's try one more thing. See, we're burning a lot of time on this already. Let me just hit save, and yep, all instances, and what did that do? Yeah, that didn't help me either. So despite having this offset true center, these offset true center, our CAD block is actually being placed according to something else. I'm not sure. Let me try switching off of this just to test that out. Okay. And let me try getting back to it. And we want that one with, yeah, all that text right there. And you can kind of tell, you can see that it's offset there. So very interesting. Oh boy, I'd have to mess around with that. So I don't have an answer for that first one. We're already failing. Let me move on. Dimensioning and resizing a room. Chief, X17 seems more difficult than X16. It was easier to dimension and resize a room. You used to just hit enter on interior dimensioning and would move the wall. Now it does not. I'm not sure what they're referring to. Maybe it's just that temporary dimensions now fall underneath your active dimension defaults. So whereas before they had their own setting in default settings, now they're just they're inside of the dimension defaults, and they're right here, set up temporary. So this user just might not have the correct temporary dimensions set up. I have mine set up so that I'm doing auto exterior dimensions, and I'm doing this in a very specific way. I'm picking up both sides of my interior wall as opposed to interior wall centers, and then for temp dimensions, especially if I'm throwing in cabinets or something like that, this is going to reference inside surface. So my exterior dimensions, because I'm largely in a remodel workflow, are referencing the main layer. And then the interior dimensions are referencing the surface because that's typically what I'm dimensioning to. So yeah, it takes a long time to set up your dimension defaults. I have dimension defaults for all kinds of things as I need them. So you can see I've got a bunch of different NKBA dimension defaults, making it super easy to do things. I'll just show you this real quick. By default, if I'm in a working kitchen and bath plan, I've got NKBA plan view, which don't actually dimension cabinets. They just dimension wall to wall. Makes that really simple for that manual dimension tool. If I want countertops, I switch to NKBA countertops, and look at that. That's fantastic, right? Makes it really easy. So set up your dimension defaults and get that active default dimension control drop down here, and it becomes really easy to come in here. And just so you know, I can type out stuff really quick. So I can type in NKBA, I can type in CAD. Well, I used to be able to anyways. Oh, looks like it's not respecting that anymore. What'd you do, Chief? You changed that on me? It works in this one. Huh, interesting. All right, let's move on to this next one. Drywall not showing in render. Friendly design living space in a part of a pole building. Create the pole building. I used molding polylines to show the rough end of the water drains. Huh. And, well, looks like someone tested it. B.B. Cooper tested this. That's not his real name. That's a pseudonym. That's an alias. There's a joke there somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. I'll skip that. Looks like it's a non-issue maybe. Redraw truss as attic truss. A simple one floor house and have truss frame the roof, and now I want a 6 truss run, 10 feet in length, to all be attic trusses so that we can have a platform deck on which to mount HVAC equipment. The depth of the bottom chord for the rebuild is unknown, but it's certainly not 3.5. Do I just draw my room with invisible attic walls and guess the floor structure and then rebuild the affected trusses? I'm having trouble understanding that question. And so I'm not quite sure. Let me see what an answer is. I'm not quite sure what they're getting at for that. But let me just go ahead and make it be conducive to just simple attic trusses here. And I'll get to my auto build roof. And let's make these trusses. In 12 or not. No. I don't need to see them on this display. We'll show them on a framing view. Oh, for some reason, oh boy, I gotta go fix something. I'm not seeing trusses here, and that's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Floor trusses, ceiling trusses. Oh, I didn't build them. That would be helpful. Let's build them. There we go. And so I'm usually in a contained mode. For this, I'd probably just switch to an intersected mode, and then, you know, you can always get to build framing and then go to just a general framing member. And if you're on a general framing member, you should be able to shift select just trusses, maybe not. So in that case, roof, let's see, framing trusses, right? Roof truss. And I do a little shift marquee select, there we go. And be able to open these up is not going to get you to that bottom chord information. But if you go to the open truss detail, then you should be able to get into all these different trusses and change all of them. This is a way of manually changing those trusses. And which, you know, I teach in some classes how to do big timber frame trusses. You can always open a truss from here. Let's see. Find truss, that'll locate truss, and then you can open a truss. And so you could change top chord, bottom chord here, 5.5, blah, 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 attic truss, etc. It's not going to say that because I need a flat ceiling, blah, etc. Sometimes I'm trying to force a particular truss profile and make like a big decorative truss. This is a really easy way to make a big decorative truss, in case you didn't know this. So you can take all these guys. Let's just get rid of these real quick. And maybe I want to rotate this to be a 45, right? Or, let's just say it this. Yeah, something like that. Bam. So you can take this top chord and use extend and draw through here, and it will correctly miter this. Same thing, I could take the bottom chord and our king post and use that extend, and it will miter correctly. Look at that, isn't that cool? Anyways, and I unchecked the drawing sheet so you can see these easier. But yeah, in terms of this guy, you can always select this from the detail, find it in a plan, open this up, change the bottom chord at 10.5, why not? And then go open up that detail again, and look at that, quickly updated. Cool, let's go to the next one. Build the attic floor. Let's see. All right, now that I have a roof built, I do not have an attic floor showing. I've been retired from using CA for quite some time, and the proper steps to build the attic aren't coming back to mind. Build framing is another. To put a floor surface on there, you need to have a floor. You need to have an additional floor. I don't know that there's any way of doing that, unless you kind of want to fake it. Let's try faking it. Let's do back to this. I'm going to go to my floor defaults. Floor defaults, first floor. And this is going to be the ceiling structure. And I might be able to just insert something above that's 3/4 of an inch that's not framing, and that is plywood. Right? And again, not framing. Details insulation uncheck. An inch, that should be putting a sheet on top of this, right? So that if we pull a little back clip cross section, yeah, I've got a surface there. You can see that well, let's build all framing. That's going to rebuild everything. The trusses are still considered the ceiling structure in this case, because we have trusses. Let's do something else instead. Get back to that build roof menu, and I'm just going to say that I don't have trusses, 6 and 12 pitch. Okay. And let me build all framing again. And so, my back clip cross section is probably getting a little bit farther than I wanted it to be. Let me try that again. Let's go a little farther. Try that. Build all framing. Interesting. Not seeming to give me my ceiling trusses, but I know they're there. But, oh, maybe I unchecked that as framing. Someone must have caught that, right? Someone must have caught me screwing up and didn't tell me, because this isn't live and it should be. Ceiling structure. This is what I unchecked as framing. Oops. Mistake coming. Framing. Yeah, so that kind of depicts a floor. Is that what we want? Maybe that's all we needed. Cool. Back to it. File appears to be corrupted. Hey, give Chief Architect a call. Give him your logs. That's all I would say. Archive file is not showing up is odd. And so maybe it's an archive file was unnamed because they hadn't named it yet. So that could be something that they could do. And if they had ran a backup, just know that Chief Architect, the way Chief Architect does backups now, let me actually see if I can go find one of my own. In preferences, you could always find out where your backups are being saved. Mine is, you'd have to uncheck default, and then we can see where this is. Managed resources, blah, blah, blah. Oh, excuse me. Here's my backup. Never mind. Backup's right here. Dropbox projects, project backup. Let me go see if I can't find that. Right, so project backup. And so this is just a zip file, and inside of here might be your project. Look at that. Pretty cool. So that's what I would do. See if it's in the backup. If it's not in the archive, maybe it's an unnamed file, so you're gonna have to dig through for that. Yeah, that's my best advice. Otherwise, um, boy, uh, I think that this voids your SSA. I'm going to say that right now. I'm gonna say that right now. I'm not going to teach you how to do this. I'm just going to tell you that your managed resources are somewhere on your machine. And you could run a program to say, hey, when Chief Architect is closed, I want you to take those managed resources and back them up somewhere. And that will work if you replace them. Just know that if you tell Chief Architect that, they're going to tell you to reinstall Chief Architect. They're not going to handle that at all. I know that. There you go. Okay. Just meaning you have to reinstall and you're going to want to export all your projects and your settings and all that stuff if you want to get it back and installed and working correctly in case something goes wrong. Constant program crashes. I'd be curious to see if this person having all these crashes is having the same issue I was. Oh, it looks like they issued an update. That's really good. I'm currently having crashes when I am using DLSS rendering style and I'm doing a lot of stuff. And that has to do with driver updates. And I could roll back my NVIDIA drivers. I don't feel like it. Is it possible to associate a 2D CAD block and a 2D symbol to the same entity? I'm not curious what that means. Curious if there's a way to associate a 2D CAD block and a 2D symbol to the same object. To be shown under different layer sets view. Just no. No, you cannot. No, there is no way, and I have tried extensively for my own reasons. There is absolutely no way for you to change how a 2D CAD block depicts its CAD inside of it. You can't have it follow a layer settings for line styles. You can't get it to dynamically switch. The only thing I have not tried is I have not tried to do a macro that changes its text. So we could try that. We could try that on the fly. I can't even think of a simple macro right now, so I'm just gonna get ChatGPT to burn one up for me real quick. And give me a Ruby macro if. I'm gonna use the dishwasher symbol again. Oops. And what am I gonna do with the dishwasher symbol? Let's just take a look at what some of its values are. And let's just say layer set. Okay, so if layer set down case includes working, then working. Else print. That's how I set up my views. Well, let's give this a go. So we're going to just do a new one. It'll be a little test. See if I can get this going real quick. Test. Bam. And I think it needs to be, I don't know that we get it to be working. This will work on an owner object. That doesn't seem to make sense. Make it so it works on referenced or owner. Get a little update there. Okay. Just populate this in, and then there's no context. So that's named test, and let's open up this cat block, throw in a little text. We can just target that. Test. Interesting. And will this work? Look at that, working. I guess I need a print view that shows. Print. No kidding. Learned something new. So you can get a macro to change dynamically based on the layer. Oh, that gives me some ideas. Huh. Back to working? Look at that. I like it. I do a couple different conditional things. For instance, my schedules. You just take a, let's get rid of these little sidebars here. You take my schedules, for instance, this says, you know, that says cabinet schedule. What would be a better schedule to show this on? Probably window schedules. Let me show you a window schedule. And so if instead in the project browser, actually probably a better representation of this is my keynotes. So let me just show keynotes floor plan. So here we go, keynotes floor plan, and that just means I'm using a note such as this. It's plugged into something. Okay. Look at this. Keynotes floor plan, new wall per details. Now, if I change this plan name to -AB, okay, and hit enter and refresh this and back to this plan view and maybe refresh something. There we go. Now it's changed both what the note says and what the keynote says, demo. So I have conditional stuff like this, macros like this inside of schedules and stuff like that. But I don't know, you can put them in 2D CAD symbols. That's really cool. Very cool. All right. Next. What are we doing on time? Burned 26 minutes and we're about on pace. Ray trace error enforcing. You know, this is going to be NVIDIA drivers. Yep, that's exactly what Chief's calling that one. Good. That caught us up on speed. Industrial brick details. This is Shane. Let's see. How would you approach doing industrial brick details similar to the picture using Chief? I have some idea. Using trim and 3D solids. I am not going to address this right now. Why? Because I'm going to use the last 20 seconds of this video to point you to two other videos that handle brick details, both row lock and some kind of sill detail. Because we have a bunch of different things on Windows that people, I don't think, realize a lot of times, which is if you open up a window, you might have not noticed that under treatments, there is exterior millwork above casing and exterior millwork below casing. And if you really know how to manipulate symbols and set stretch planes and set offsets and resize bounding boxes or add bounding box spacing, you can get any millwork to attach to this window. You can make it look like an arched row lock. You can make it look like a sill row lock. You can do all kinds of different things. I even have one that adds a beam and corbels on the outside of my windows, making them linked and dynamically resizable parametrically according to your stretch planes, which will take out so much work on building out exterior facades with those kind of details. So I guess I will show you this real quick. Let me just open up one because I know I have one. One is that I know I have, not only that, but you can even, if you know how to make 3D moldings, not 2D CAD moldings, 3D moldings, you can even use that as well to do some really custom stuff. So I have some 3D moldings. I'm going to click on my user catalog and limit this to just, oh, let's see. Limit this to a sort folder that I have. Brick, row lock. Watch this. I want you to check this out in a regular standard rendering view. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Right? Now I need to make some adjustments to this because this is built for a door threshold, but you know, that would be how I could get a brick row lock sill. I would just change the way the paint is, right? In terms of the treatments, let's go exterior above casing. I'm going to type in beam and get to my own stuff. And there you go. I think it's, ooh, I don't know if it's the double or the single. There we go. Look at this. We get to say 60. 70, 80, I don't know, 80, height, 4. Oh, maybe higher height makes it smaller. That's inverted. And then something about the offset's a little off there, but yeah, this is, and now it's attached to the window. So you can do some really cool stuff this way. All right, next. Perspective full overview to layout is not printing correctly. The snip on the left is my layout sheet, and I want to print for the client to look at. The snip on the right is what print preview is producing, which is all of one camera. Interesting. Huh. Boy, I don't know. Oh yeah, they just sent it the same camera to. Oh, maybe they were moving the camera around. That's probably what this was. They were moving the camera around and then sending to layout. Moving the camera around and sending to layout. I'll explain what I mean. Okay. If you have a saved camera and boom, you just have this camera and you send this to layout, it's now a saved camera. And then you move over here and you don't save again as something new. You have to use save active use as. Otherwise, if you just hit save again, it's just overriding the same camera. Now, layout's not going to update until you force an update, such as going to print. So you've effectively had the same camera 4 times. So you have to establish a camera, save active view as, whatever that is, camera 1. Now I got to move over here. If I go edit this view, it's still camera number 1. So you want to hit that save active view as again. Now I have a camera number 2. Okay. So I think that's what was happening there. Rail wall line removal. Oh, I did already kind of solve this, and I'll just show you what the solve is. This person was saying that, they've got this extra line in here that's showing up. Boy, I don't know how after you get everything dialed in about the size of your rooms, you still have this grid on. I find it to be so distracting. Anyways, turn your grid off. It's the first thing I do when I get someone else's plan. That's an old school thing, I guess. Anyways, see this extra line here? That's happening because that is the full thickness of the railing. 2 things here. There's no reason not to set the railing thickness back to the thickness of your actual newel posts or your rails, etc. That might be what I would do. Unless for some reason you wanted the wall to drive the thickness of the railing. What I mean by that is when we draw out a railing, which that just drew on the other side of the plan or something. Oh, give me a railing. Still tough to draw a railing in 3D from scratch, from no other connection point. When we draw out a railing, the railing dialog box has a bunch of stuff in it. That where in the rails panel, you can always just say, hey, we want all this stuff to be full wall width, right? But maybe you don't want that. That's one approach. The other thing that you might want instead is you might want your newel post to be full wall width, right? So I would take whatever helps me keep this dynamic so that as I'm rolling through this, I just get to come in here to thickness and say 12, and it's changing all those elements I need it to change very quickly. Now, the big takeaway here in terms of a plan view and how this is drawn in a plan view is you want to get in here, open this railing up, get into newels, balusters, and my defaults are just set this way, but you want to check draw rails. And so draw rails will show this very differently, right? So if I uncheck full rail wall width, that's going to revert all those rail sizes back down. And so you can see the thickness of this is changed, right? The railings are not, in fact, that wide. They're not 12 inches wide. So, and so if I go back to the newels and say that, these are 3.5, this is effectively what it was showing on their end, which isn't great, right? So there you go. There's all the settings that you could change to kind of get rid of this. One is you could just change this wall, overall wall structure in the general panel to be, I don't know, about 3.5 inches. right? So that would show correctly, or you could draw the rails. Either way. Okay. Windows won't show in an elevation view. Oh, this is a pretty common thing that happens when you've modified your default wall heights and one of your walls is out of alignment. So, for instance, let me just build a new floor. And I'm just going to bump this wall a little bit. And let's go take a look at a view. And then what would be the next thing that happens here? Usually we've modified a wall top or bottom height for this to happen. Well, I can't recreate it. I can't force it, but I know what I'm looking for here. This is usually what happens is something's not aligned. In fact, that's the first response, right? The lower wall was broken into two parts. That really shouldn't have mattered, but maybe they had a platform jump that was causing issues. That will fix a lot of problems, by the way. That is a trick that I know about. So, for instance, if this room was taller, right, and then, and I had this same wall up on this upper level. Oops. Copy paste. Oh, you can't copy paste from the side. I can't wait for Chief to change that. You can't, in a 3D view, you can't get you can't get a wall to copy paste. You can't do a lot of things to a wall from selecting its side. We finally see where that rail showed up that I drew in 3D. Okay, so now if I change this relative heights, a lot of times things will get fixed if you add a break at that intersection. Little goofy transition things, wall intersections, all kinds of things can be fixed if you add a little break in there. This plan's getting real rough, so let me start a fresh one. STB still has its dishwashers in place. Cool. Okay, what do we got? Looks like I looked at a couple of these. Any clever people here have a suggestion on how I might go about creating a dry away cabinet? I've got a client that wants one. Dry away cabinet. Okay. And what? We want it operable. We want to be able to see it in 3D by clicking a button. You could make this a millwork symbol and add it as a millwork symbol to the cabinet box. There's just some challenges with this. Let's give this a shot. All right. We'll do this one live. What do we got? We got 38 minutes. Not bad. I think we got time. What do I want to do? I want to start by just using a door. And let's get this door all dialed out because I'm going to just put lights in this door. So we need to change the door style to a glass panel in this case. And we'll just make the frame like 2 and 2. And then make sure there's no hardware. You can just click in here once and then tab through if you want and hit N every time. Look for the highlight, hit N. Or hinges is hidden, so H. That gets rid of all my hardware. I want to lift this off the floor 2 inches so that we say that we're not using a threshold, so that picture frames this, right? And in fact, I don't need a jam or casing. No jam, no casing. It's going to just leave me with the door panel, okay? And then from there, we can just do our lights. Right? What's the original picture? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, if you wanted to do custom offsets, you could just draw in your CAD and apply buttons, but there we go. Only do that. That'll be, that is fine. The last part is thickness. What's the thickness of these? 3/4 of an inch. So that little guy right there. Sweet. And now we just get to convert the selected to symbol from your edit toolbar, right? So when the door is selected, hit convert selected to symbol. And we're going to change this to millwork type symbol. And I want to show advanced options. And this is going to be, what do they call it? Dry away. Dry away. And so there we go. That's what I got. Cool. It's even paintable on both sides. The only thing I didn't do was I didn't paint the lights beforehand. That would have been helpful. Although I don't know that you can. Let me just double check that you... Maybe we can't do that. This is what I use for color coding. Yeah. The lights just take on the whatever the interior color is. So maybe not the best method for this. I probably should have just used a solid or something. But that's okay. We're just teaching here. Okay, millwork type symbol, show advanced options. All right, this is how this is showing up. We need to rotate it in 3D. Immediately I know this. So rotate it 90 degrees in the Z-axis. Boom. That's exactly what I need for my millwork symbol. All right. We didn't really know what the width of this thing is, but let's just call it. Oops. Oh, escape. Big mistake. Don't hit escape. I guess I could have made this the right size right here. Let's just make this 27. That. Yeah. Selected to symbol, millwork, show advanced options, 3D. We know we're rotating it in the 90. And you might want to set some stretch planes, up to you. Stretch planes will make it so that we're not interrupting the stiles and rails here. Those wouldn't get resized as it gets applied to different cabinet sizes. That's the point. So get to the advanced sizing panel. Depth for sure, go half of the depth, maybe 13. Oh, I clicked height. Oops, here's depth, 13. Height could be half the height, or it could be 12, or it could be 5. It's just gonna probably do 3 different ones, or I do uniformly resize in between, which I've got 2-inch rails, so I could just go, hey, uniform stretch planes in between 77 and blah, blah, blah. So it's going to uniformly stretch everything, but it won't touch my rails. Perfect. And then width would just do thickness. That's fine. Leave that unchecked. Cool. Now we need a full height cabinet. Right? There's our full height cabinet. I know it's already 27 in depth. You can open this, get to the front sides back panel, right? And we can select the toe kick, delete it. In fact, if you're in the general panel, let me just show you this. If we open this up, the fastest way to get to front sides back is just click on the front of this cabinet and it'll bring you to that front sides back deal. And I already wanted to get rid of that toe kick, so there we go. And then let's get rid of one set of double doors. Let's, in box construction, say it does not have a bottom, so no bottom. And then this has a set of double doors. Here's where the tricky part is I don't see any great way of doing this. Because we need multiple of these guys behind one door. And as you know, shelves only go one way. They only go horizontal. They don't go vertical, right? I know that, let's see, sometimes we can trick a door, but really I feel like you'd have to do this from the back side. And to get it to roll out is the problem. It'd be inverted. So this is in the case that you needed doors. You'd have to put it on the back side. And you'd have to go back to the symbol and set the offset. Let me show you a way when we're not using doors. When we're not using doors, this just gets to be an opening, right? And then we're just going to split that opening vertically a bunch. And before you do that, go ahead and set it up. So opening, shelves, manual, one shelf. You want to set up spacing from previous as 0 right away. Hit the library. Go find your brand new millwork symbol. Okay. You could have it resized if you want to. Up to you. You can specify if it's full depth if you want to. Totally up to you. Let me press OK. And it's going to fill that whole area, right? Now I get to split this and split this and split this and split this until I've got the correct number. Okay. Whatever the correct number is. Then you want to go target your separations and change them. You could change them to blanks if you want to, or you might just be able to get away with getting rid of the separations altogether. And so you could say that this is box construction. You could say this is inset if you wanted to. Let's see, back and front sides back. You might want to get, you know, your reveals changed. So box construction would not be this. Let's see. Now I could set a reveal of 1 inch and get those 2 inch, 2 inch. And I might need to change my separation, blah, blah, blah. Now, when there's nothing in between the opening, notice that it just takes the one shelf and basically duplicates it. So we do need something in between here. It's almost like you need a separation and just call it 0. Does that work? Or a blank and call it 0. Let me try that. Add new, blank, 0. Insufficient room for this change. Item can't be that small. Okay. What's another thing that we could do then? Item width is 0 doesn't work. 0 works on separation, but it still adds a separation, which is not what we want. Oh, this is tricky. Blank still creates a face frame. That's because this is set. So this might need to be set to 0. Yes. That has to be set to 0. And then, yeah, because are these individual items? This is tricky. If I set this to an opening and specify that there's no shelf, does that create a break? It's tricky. I don't know. Let me just show this rollout. And does that roll out everything now? Maybe not. Maybe then we get an idea of this. So there we go. So there's definitely different items here. They're just stacked. And does that putting an opening give me a blank? 0. Interesting. So let me try to do the same thing here. Let's just give this a rollout. 40. That. Okay, let me equalize all these. So it's very interesting that that blank area still has some kind of millwork there, and I'm not sure what's going on with that. That's the blank area, and it's filling with something, even though it's specified as 0 shelves. Huh. Curious. That's very curious. Not sure what's going on there. This should have no geometry in it. Something with the overlay or something? I'm not sure. Well, if I had more time, I feel like I would beat this up until I got it exactly right. Something about our setup here is goofing things up. If we set this to blank area, does that, well, that's still going to produce something. Yeah, that's going to produce. Oh, very curious. All right, I'm going to save that for another video. Move on. Probably lost some attention spans on that one. We got 2 minutes. Boy, oh boy. Convert dimensions to whole numbers. I answered this one, it looks like. I'm fairly new and maybe asking the impossible here, but figured it was worth a shot. I don't have much time to make the changes. Is there a setting within X16 that I can change to have all the dimensions within an existing plan convert to whole numbers while their respective items adjust accordingly. No. No, and I don't think I have any solutions for that. You got to go in and do that work. If you put stuff on fractions and now you need them at whole numbers, you're going to have to go move all the items. Have bumps turned on, so maybe that makes the job easier because things like cabinets might bump, but boy, that's just asking for problems too, because you never know if you've got your cabinets aligned perfectly. I can't tell you how many kitchen plans I open up where people don't have their cabinets truly bumped. They're not moving things with precision. So good luck on that. Dropping a floor inside foundation walls for a semi-split level plan. Wow, okay. Drawing a plan with a one-car garage on the left side, house on the right sides, 2 stories, top of garage, concrete walls, and slab will sit about 4 feet above the first floor of the house section on the right. Tall concrete wall that separates the 2 structures will be 7 feet and match the height of the garage step wall. So I'm just thinking pony walls here. That's all I'm thinking. I already have a wall set up kind of for this purpose. And it's in my toolbar, so I get to just draw with it very, very easily. And so if we go take a look at this side, this is just concrete pony wall, and it's a furred pony wall with framing, furring it out. And so it's easy for me to just use the brake tool and slide this up to whatever I want. And you know, with 3D dimensions makes it even easier nowadays. So here would be that 7 foot. And you can see everything's looking correct on the inside. So if we were to open this up, just take a look at what this is. It's 2 different wall types. Both have furring walls and they're meant to line up in specific ways. There you go. So yeah, it's possible. It's possible to set that up. That's what I would do. Makes it real easy. Makes it very, very easy to do daylight basements quickly. I'm rushing through this only because we're running out of time. I got like 8 minutes to get through 8 questions. No way. I'm a college student and I'm in need of some help. We're designing a kitchen and living room for NKBA, and the design style is maximalist. I want to bring in a wall-mounted Longhorn since the house is in Texas. Is there any way I can bring in something like that into the software? Yeah, of course. We can import a bunch of different 3D formats. DAE, which is a collada file, I believe, 3DS, OBJ, SKP, which is SketchUp, bunch of different formats we can bring in. You can drag and drop it right into your plan. That's going to automatically convert it to a symbol category class of fixture, or use the import dialog box, and that will make it so that you're importing it with the dialog box that lets you classify it. But you can always drag and drop, place it, and then reconvert it and do some edits to it and add it to your library. Maybe that's helpful. All right, stacking a barn door. This chief allows stacking barn door options like in this picture below. I don't get what the stacking part is. Are we talking about just dual rail? Huh. Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, I know I could do this, and it would be with some little bits of trickery. But if you need them operable and you need one to open and the other one not to, you know, doors have all those extra things that we can do with them. And windows have even more things that you could do with them, and you can always call a window a door, right? So let's just take a look at a door, for instance. Well, we'll call it a barn door, but what does a barn door have on it that you can utilize? It has shutters. So what happens when you put a, you know, right side only shutter and that shutter is like that, right? What does that do? It's not offset from the door. So there you go. Now it's aligned with the casing. I mean, that's faking it right there, and you could still open and shut this thing, right? And then you could specify, you could take this same door. Okay, let's go through the whole thing. Here we go. So let me open this bad boy up. Let me just say that it's got, again, we're doing that same thing, right? And tab, and tab, tab, and tab, and tab, tab, hidden, tab, tab, none, tab, tab, none, right? Got nothing left. Casing, boom, take it away, right? Jam, take it away, okay? Everything's gone now. We have that door. Now, take that door, convert the selected to symbol. What do we need? Millwork type, right? Shutter as door, door as shutter, whatever. And I believe this is the correct orientation. That's it. Put a single stretch plane in this. Put a height stretch plane in this. And you want to basically, what? Probably the bottom. So throw it at 3, something like that. There we go. Now that's a shutter. Right? Let me open this bad boy up. And, or no, sorry, this bad boy up. And so what do we want? We want shutter, library, millwork, shutter as door. What do we get? And we're doing it on right side only. And we are making this 28 inches. And we're doing that casing. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty dang close. We could have left the hardware on there. You know, bam, 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 bam. Throw a little light in here. I should have made a video on this. Open the door up. Look at that. That's it, close enough. Cool. All right, room molding polylines square footage. I have custom room molding polylines set up for my bathroom and shower. I want both spaces counted together in total bathroom square footage. But as soon as I disable room definition on the shower walls, the molding polylines breaks and everything shift. Is there a better workflow to include the shower in the room area? Yeah, I'm going to tell you the better workflow right now. Shameless plug. Let's push this thing past an hour real quick. I have a suite of tools that are showers that are configurable, and they are amazing, and they work super lightning fast. And guess what? They're built out of cabinets. And they're parametrically resizable. They're infinitely adaptable to a bunch of different conditions. And I couldn't tell you how easy it is to just modify this stuff on the fly. Modify, this is a corner shower. One shower's got back, one side's got backsplash, etc. Because this is a cabinet, you can resize all these configurations. You can resize everything about this. And so it just makes it super, super fast to do this. And this doesn't count as a room, right? So just pump in here. I'll give you like 15 different styles, and they even have all the capping and stuff like that you would need for putting stone caps on the walls, split material types so that you could put tile on the outside or not, have it be drywall on the outside. And I give you all the major configurations that I run into in the real world. And this just makes life so easy, I'm telling you. So yeah, you want your square footage calcs, go buy that kit. It's on sale right now. It's Thanksgiving. Anyways, yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to do that. I think it's just learning more about molding polylines and how to set those up correctly. It sounds like the molding was jumping or not displaying. Remember that walls have molding directives. You maybe didn't need a custom molding polyline in the first place. Maybe all you needed to do was draw on a wall, paint that wall, or put a material region on it, or put a backsplash on it, and say that those two walls that are going to create your shower room do not have room moldings. Maybe that's what they needed. Who knows? I would need to know more context. But go buy that kit. Pays for itself after like literally one shower. One shower design pays for itself, I'm telling you. Okay, Chief 9.0 installs on Windows 7 Professional. I'm gonna load my 9 version on Windows 7. I have it installed on my laptop. Windows 7 worked fine, but my laptop died. I could really use some help. All I would say is they might be able to right click and run as a previous version of Windows. That would be the thing that I would think they would need to do. So that should answer that. Oh man, we're at an hour. Yeah, that's about right. Working on layout drawings and creating elevations, all of a sudden the elevation markers on the plan disappears. The elevations on the layout page are properly labeled, but there's no reference markers on the drawings. Been working on Chief for 15 plus years, never experienced this. Checked all defaults, no defaults, schedule defaults, etc. Interesting. They might just want to post a plan, as someone said. If it's that the label is turned off, we did get some new settings in more recent versions where the label itself could be on an object layer or custom layer that they may have set up because they thought, oh, that's a new feature, that might be nice. And they may not have realized that they put it on a layer that is not set up in their default layers. So, layer sets. So that would be my first, really only response to that without more ideas of what's going on. Window puzzler. I'm attaching a screenshot of part of my foundation for this particular plan. The windows on the vertical wall and the windows on the horizontal wall show different orientations. And by the way, Ed, sorry, I don't mean to beat you up. When we're talking about this stuff, horizontal vertical is a different meaning in most of our heads when we're doing architecture. This would be, plan south wall, plan right wall, plan front wall, something like that. Vertical, horizontal, I was immediately thinking about horizontal railing versus a vertical wall. I got confused. All right, double window line occurs on the exterior side of the vertical foundation wall. Or also, by the way, that is really literally what we use construction lines for. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. The double window line occurs on the exterior side of the vertical foundation wall and on the interior side of the horizontal foundation wall. Is there any way to install windows backwards? Is there any way to install windows backwards? Interesting. I would need to know, is this a double wall? Are they using a furring wall? Because in that case, they just reverse the layers. If you're using a furring wall, like so, right, there is an interior side and an exterior side. In your general wall defaults, you could change what side of the wall that these edit handles show up on. Mine are set to inner surface because remodel workflow. So, technically speaking, the plan left is the inner surface of this wall. I could reverse these layers and then set this to 0. I could then reverse them back just because I want the inner side to be on the other side. And so if I had a window in this, let's just say for argument's sake that it's not a through window, especially because we've got an interceding wall there, right? We can see what side of the wall this is on. So if I flip this, look, the window flips. That would be my response. It's probably a furring wall. You probably just need to reverse the layers of that wall. And then print drivers. When I was sending my plans out for printing, I had to send them as PDF files. However, the PDFs printed all the lines at the same black. He's using the Adobe Acrobat print driver. I would definitely always use the Chief Architect Save As print driver. Because you'll run into problems with other print drivers that were not specifically built for Chief Architect. And boom, that was the last 1 hour and 4 minutes. I think that's about what we've done before. Yeah, I wish I had solved this though. I wish I'd figured this out. I don't feel like I've run into this before. Okay. So my only thought here, let's just try this. I've still got you. If you're sticking around, we're done. We're done. You're just hanging around because you want to get beat up by this as well. So I'm going to throw in some more blank areas here and see what happens when we split this all up. And let me just change the easier, because then by default, the blanks will follow that 1 inch. Right? Now, does that go right above, or it does not go right above? It goes right below. Interesting. I think that Chief chose to put it below. Seems strange to me. So inserting something new puts it below what you have selected. Yeah, that seems very strange to me. So, are these areas blank now? No, see, there's still a constant fill in there. And why is that? Because it seems that my symbols are wider than the specifications. There's still an opening there. Let's add a blank. There. So that is the trick. I need something to break up every section in order for one of those millwork symbols not to span the whole area. Chief does something automatic when you have neighboring elements and there's nothing to break them in between. Chief's going to push that millwork shelf all the way across. So that's what was happening. It's what I kind of had a hunch about. So with that said, what could we do? So it's almost like we would have to turn every blank opening into an opening with no shelves. Does that work? It does not. That does not work. It has to have a shelf, which would tell you something really obnoxious. Let's see. When you delete from, see, deletes the inverse too. When I delete, it's going to take everything below it. Okay. I guess that's not inverted. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to do another opening. And get rid of the separation. And my opening, look, it brings in shelves. How strange. It brings in shelves for half the distance, even though my opening is only 1 inch wide. That's so curious. Why? Oh, and it's just how interesting. Okay, I learned something new just now. This is extending past the overall depth of something. See, the shelves are extending past the depth of this symbol? No. No, the shelves are just there. Definitely. Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to do this. Manual this shelf. One shelf. Spacing from that. And the thickness is 1/16. And so now what does that look like? All right. So now that I have that, can I start splitting this up and have spacing in between? Okay. There is a gap there. Let me take this one that's 1 inch, move left. Let's make this a lot wider, 16, and we'll split it a bunch of times. And those are all locked. We didn't want them to be locked. Not yet well, actually, I guess I do want them to be locked. They're all going to be 1 inch. Boy, if you're sticking with me through this is a fun little experiment, I'm telling you. Okay. Get rid of the separations. Chief automatically puts a separation in when you put a new element. And then move this left. Okay. I want to split this guy up a bunch of times. Grab the big one, split it a few more times. All right, separations can get deleted. Let's equalize everything. Let's start shifting these openings around. The openings are the unlocked ones. Let's see, or the locked one. Ran out of some of these openings. Interesting. Change this to like 6. Oh, and it bunched everything together again. This is tough. Look what it did. It stacked all these again. Boy, this would take me a while to get right, as we can see. Something causing these things to stack. All right, well, I guess I'm going to call it for right now. Yeah, wasn't not the greatest solution I came up with there. I mean, the other thing that we could have done here is just made these into drawers. No. Yeah, drawers. Could have been drawers, and that's in the case that you don't have face frames, right? I'll just show you that real quick. Okay, so here's our, let's see. Oh, there it is. Here's our millwork. Let's take this, convert it to drawer, cabinet door drawer. That is the correct direction, but we need the offset. So the depth needs to get put into the 3D panel's positive Y direction so that that's the front face there. I believe. And let's start with a brand new cabinet. Let's delete this upper section. Lower section becomes a drawer. Let's just apply our new thing. Right? Cabinet door drawer. There we go. Say that it has no drawer handle. Cool. Front side's back. And then we get to split this up a bunch. And percent open, 50%, sure. Split vertical, vertical. Yeah. Vertical. And so now I would probably make this inset. There we go. And do this a few more times. And let's set some of these to only 30% open, 20% open, and show them open. A drawer, default cabinet, blah, blah, blah. Show them open. And we said, show them open. Show those doors and drawers open. Why are they not? What did I do? Drawer. There's a drawer. Oh man, this thing's just gonna fight me today, huh? I have it says show open. Wait, what happens if we uncheck it? Is that drastically offset? No. Okay, so something I might have to do is let's open this object, and in the advanced sizing, uncheck update, that checks this guy, and then we're going to say that the overall depth of this is 7/8 of an inch. And let me replace in an object scoping mode all these guys. And then do we get to open these drawers up now? There we go. So we needed to trick Chief into thinking that this was only a 7/8 inch door for it to open like this. And just for testing purposes, let's get to this one. Say it's open 100%. So we can see it in all its glory. There it is. Good job, team. If you stayed this long, that's very cool. As promised, right now I'm going to show you some links to videos. Cool. Thanks for watching.